because we're going to get nowhere here today.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Chair. I have my hand up earlier and before we did the break, and I just want to just clarify the assertion that was made that local members are making a strong representation on, on behalf of constituents, which I of course agree with, but on the basis that only half the ward members are actually present in this meeting. So I think we don't have a balance of views here, and I know what the recommendation that you've just suggested there, but we don't have a balance of views, and we haven't had a balance of views. They may, the other half of the ward members may have agreed, they may not have, but I just want to be cautious that there's an assertion made which I felt was not representative of the situation.
Well, that's where a meeting with asking the head of service to have a meeting with the ward members would deal with that, because that would be a fair meeting and everybody's views could be discussed at that meeting.
Okay, on which basis that, just to clarify then, Chair, that we have, obviously when we have committee, we must declare interest, etc. But we don't have such a thing at informal meetings. So given that one member has declared an interest and it isn't taking part, are you suggesting that they would take part in an informal meeting?
I'm suggesting it would be up to her, because it's up to her whether she declares an interest or not. Tim?
Sure. Yeah.
I think for Councillor Brown's benefit, what you might find helpful for me to reiterate is the discussion we've been having has been very much breaking out the report, which is quite streamlined in terms of the area, which is committee business. The discussion with ward members as a precursor decision, it actually sits outside of the committee, because that's something that would happen in due course in terms of officer delegated authority and contentious permission. So to my mind, whether members have declared an interest for a committee would have limited relevance, and they would still be able to consult with the head of service. It's important to stress that it is just consultation. The decision is still the head of services to make. Thank you, Chair.
Who was next?
You'll probably not want to hear this, Chair, but me.
Well, go on then.
Robbie, then
no. First of all, just to respond to Sarah, I think to be fair, Councillor Petrie is obviously not here taking part because she lives in the conservation area, perfectly understandable. And I'll reserve comment on our other ward colleague. In terms of where we are, I appreciate officers going away and looking at the competency and seeing what can be done. I'm obviously not happy with the outcome, but the bottom line is, as I said at the very start, as local ward members, I certainly feel that I can say I've done everything I can, and that's all. It's no criticism of officers, it's a criticism of the process. And we're not going to fix it today. It has been said, I've tried, failed, but that's all I can do. So my conscience is clear, and I'm happy with what's been proposed as a way forward, because for no other reason than it is the only option left to us. So thanks to everybody for indulging my tantrums today and trying to find a way forward. Appreciate that we're not going to get it, but it's something we absolutely do need to look into, because this is coming up time and time again on numerous issues, whether it be today, whether it be school nursery closures, where the public expect elected members to make the decisions, and it's getting very difficult explaining why half the time on these big important issues we're not making the decisions. We're simply being asked to comment or note or just sign up to something in many cases we don't agree with. But thank you to everyone. We are where we are. The way forward is the only thing we've got left, so I'm happy to go with it.
Right, okay. Councillor Ross.
And I would endorse what Councillor Withy has said, and we are where we are. I would also emphasise that through circumstances we had 2 local members present, and we have to consider their views, assertions or not. And I find it, well, I'll just leave it at that I listened to the ward members. Also, there was absolutely, on my part, absolutely no criticism or disbelieving officers. I think that needs to be emphasised too. Now, as the Alliance Group leader, I'm going to be taking the queries that have been raised regarding papers coming for noting and taking this forward regarding the Procedures Committee, because I think it needs, as Councillor Withy has said, I'm happy to work with him to take this forward. And that's a separate thing from the paper, but it definitely needs to be looked into regarding the scheme of governance and the scheme of delegation regarding this. Thank you.
Okay, so are we all agreed then that we note the outcome of the public consultation at 1.2.1? We note the revised Huntley Conservation Area boundary 1.2.2. We note the revised Huntley Conservation Area Management Plan 1.2.3. We note the revised Huntley Conservation Area Appraisal 1.2.4. And we note the authority to vary the boundary of a conservation area is delegated to the Head of Planning and Economy in terms of Part 2B, Section F4.19 of the Scheme of Government, which is 1.2.5. And that in the comments, we want a meeting for the ward members as appropriate. That's the appropriate ward members with the head of planning before he makes his final decision on this. Are we all agreed? It's rather silent.
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay.
I nod my head. Yes.
Thank
Sorry,
you very much.
Camera.
Okay,
Mic off
so
for the kids running around.
Cheryl, thank you for your attention this afternoon. And we can now get Gwyneth back in.
That should be Gwyneth back now. Councillor Petrie back now.
That's great. Right. I'm sorry you had such a long break, Councillor Petrie. I hope you made good use. We're now moving on to item 13, which is Connethman School to Ardmore Cottages Shared Use Path Speed Limit Review. And we are recommended to, at 1.2.1, note the preliminary layout of the shared use facility in appendices A, B and D. 1.2.2 authorise the commencement of the statutory procedure for the making of Aberdeenshire Council B9002 Connethman 40-mile-an-hour speed limit order 20.26. At 1.2.3, note that in accordance with paragraph 6.12 of Part 2B Officer Powers of the Scheme of Governance, the Head of Legal and People is authorised to make the order should no representations be received and there be no unresolved objections. And at 1.2.4, instruct the submission of any further report to committee in the event that any valid objections received are not resolved and not withdrawn, or the proposals are amended following consideration of valid objections. And Wendy McLaren, are you still alive to come and speak
I am.
to us?
Yes, Chair.
I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll keep this brief because I know it's been a long day for you all. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair and members. The report I am presenting today relates to the proposed Connethman School to Ardmore Cottages Shared Use Path. And I seek your approval to commence the statutory procedure for a speed limit traffic regulation order. To address a key gap in active travel infrastructure between the two settlements of Connethman, a prelim design showing a 2.5 metre wide off-road path has been prepared along the southern verge of the B9002. Whilst designing the scheme, this transition between the new path and the existing road infrastructure near Connethman School, that area was relatively straightforward. However, space constraints and private land boundary issues at the eastern end near Ardmore Distillery required a revised engineering approach. Through application of Aberdeenshire Council Speed Limits Manual, an extension of the existing 40-mile-an-hour zone at Ardmore Distillery by approximately 41 metres westward is proposed. The Road Safety Engineering Unit has confirmed that the viability of this scheme is wholly contingent upon this extension, which will enable a compliant and safe transition between the new path and the existing road infrastructure to be implemented at this location. Public feedback shows strong local support for the route, with over 74% of survey respondents highlighting safety concerns as their main barrier to active travel along this corridor. We therefore recommend that committee authorises the commencement of the statutory procedure for the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit order as set out in this report. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I see Councillor Goodall has got his hand up.
Thanks for that, Wendy. And yeah, it's good to see a good bit of progress, and the responses you've had from the public have been very good. And I've spoken to a lot of people in Ardmore and Connethman about this path, and they're very enthusiastic. What I would say is I agree with the 40 miles an hour order, but I would actually request it be extended, because we have had representations from Tappa North and people, residents of Ardmore and Connethman, that the whole length of the path be reduced to 40.
Okay.
So would it be sensible and cost effective to actually extend it for the full length of the path? It would actually increase safety, as you mentioned yourself. The reason you're doing this is for safety, and it would actually in many ways make it safer and perhaps remove some other constraints as to path width if necessary.
Yes, thank you for your question, Councillor Goodall. What I would highlight just now is at this point, this is a prelim design. In terms of reducing the speed limit, I could consult the road management team and also the policy team, just to make sure that if we were to do anything like that, it would still be within policy. We wouldn't be stepping outside of that. The reassurance I can give you is that this prelim design has been designed in accordance with, or in liaison with, the road safety team, and the layout that's proposed has taken into account the fact that there is a 60-mile-an-hour limit on that road just now, which is why the 2-metre grass buffer strip has been proposed. So if it wasn't able to be reduced for any reason, it would still be a safe scheme so far, in the informal conversations I've had with the road safety team. The reason for bringing this paper to committee today is because at the western end, at the eastern end, if we don't get this TRO, the whole scheme cannot progress. So this is a sort of a critical risk to the scheme, and if I can obtain permission for that, for the TRO, it allows me then to prepare a detailed design, which I can then commission a stage 2 road safety audit on. And that will look at the whole scheme from a road safety point of view and will make recommendations, one of which I don't know what will come out of that, but one of which may be to look at the existing speed limit. So it's just to reassure you that whatever we do, this is early stages, and that whatever we do propose will be reviewed by the road safety team formally.
Yes, can I come back, Chair?
Yeah.
Just to say thank you for that, and I'm pleased that you've taken on board my thoughts, as it were. But I think you're not going to have any problems getting this approved, particularly for myself, because and John Latham started this all off, what, 8-9 years ago. So it'd be good to see it progressing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Withy.
Thanks, Chair. I'm laughing because of the mention of John Latham by Councillor Goodall. I was just coming in very briefly to support the comments that Councillor Goodall made. Actually, he is far more in tune with this particular issue than I am, and I know that Councillor Latham for years and years pushes. We were actually going to name the street the Councillor Latham Road or something at one point, I think. But I know that Jeff took it on in particular after that. So I appreciate the work that he's done, and I'm delighted to see the progress with it. So all very supportive. You'll be pleased to know, Chair, and I've also run out of energy to talk anymore. So that's all you're getting from me. Thank you.
Every cloud has a silver lining, Councillor Withy. Thank you very much. I don't see any other hands up, so I'm hoping that the whole committee agrees to the recommendations that I've already read out, contained in 1.2.1, 1.2.2, 1.2.3, 1.2.4 and 1.2.5 of the report. And I don't hear anybody objecting, so thank you very much, Wendy. And I'm
Okay.
sorry you've had such a long wait to come to
Not
Marr
at all.
Area Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Right, we now move on to item 14, which is the asset transfer request from Bankery Outdoor and Active. And I'll hand over to Tim.
Thank you, Chair. I'm conscious there's a lot of information in the pack, and I'm conscious of the time, so I will be brief in my introduction. This report asks members to consider an asset transfer request submitted by Bankery Outdoor and Active for the area on D Street, comprising of the former all-weather pitch, tennis courts, bowling green and pavilion. Members will be aware that the Community Empowerment Act provides community transfer bodies with the right to request ownership, lease or management of publicly owned assets where they can demonstrate positive community benefit. The application before members has been assessed in accordance with the Council's asset transfer process, and the report sets out the detail of the proposal, the asset concerned, the intended use and the assessment undertaken by officers. Having completed the assessment, the report presents a positive officer recommendation for members' consideration, albeit one that comes with a suggested condition that the transfer is conditional on Bankery Outdoor and Active raising sufficient funds, which is in the region of £500,000, to progress with stage 1 of their project. This positive recommendation is premised on the fact that the project aims to rejuvenate a partly derelict site and create 2 paddle courts as stage 1, a multi-use games area, tennis court, and 2 small football areas as stage 2, and lastly at stage 3 a new pavilion, bowls green and golf area. Although the group hope to encourage a membership-based system for use, over 1,000 hours of usage will be for the general public. It's worth highlighting that should Bankery Outdoor and Active not be able to realise their plan, it's unlikely the council will invest in the area as it has been declared surplus for use by Live Life Aberdeenshire, who are the holding service. There is reference to the group agreeing to honour the existing lease arrangements of the bowling club, which is the case. However, I should highlight that officers have recently identified there is no formal lease currently in place between the Bowls Club and the council, although there has been an indicative agreement in 2022 to a self-repairing lease for a term of 5 years, which would be ending at some point next year. As it is expected to take a significant amount of time for Bankery Outdoor and Active to raise sufficient funds for phase 1 and subsequently phase 2, should committee agree the recommendation, it would be reasonable for this committee to request officers formalise an appropriate lease with Bankery Bowls Club within the next year, the terms of which would then be honoured in any eventual formal asset transfer. Any resultant lease would then be agreed and considered through the appropriate process, not directly linked to this application, although it's probable that officers would progress a self-repairing lease for a mutually agreeable time frame with the Bowls Club. I'm happy to answer any questions on the assessment process, the wider process, or the recommendation before you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have 2 hands up, Councillor Ross, followed by Councillor Turvey.
Thank you, and thank you for the report. I'm happy to endorse the transfer, and I'm pleased that the mention of the lack of a lease has come to light. And when I say I'm pleased, sort of the officers have investigated and realised there wasn't a lease, and I'm not pleased that there isn't a lease there, but I'm pleased that they've got a solution to it. Because I was going to ask what surety can we write into this to ensure that the bowling club is protected, because committees come and committees go, and I know that the letter from the bowling club that they're happy with it at present. I have to say that I could hardly read the letter in my printed papers or online. The script was so small, but I have noted that they have said that the bowling club are content with the current position. I have some concerns regarding parking. I appreciate that there's the free Belfield car park, and then there's the Belfield car park which is pay and display. It's mentioned in here that there could be parking in King George V, and I have concerns. I think that it's a separate issue regarding that, because the trees that are in King George V are actually suffering. So that's something that can be sorted out separately. Overall, I'm very happy. I think Banchory needs this facility, so long as the bowling club is protected. I think I would like to see the putting green included, because or continued. The other day, it was when I drove past, it was really busy with holidaymakers using it, but we desperately need these facilities in Banchory, and I'm very happy to endorse the transfer. Thank you.
Councillor Turvey.
Yeah, thank you so much. As Councillor Ross, we have seen, a bit of decline around these facilities due to the lack of, interest, sadly, by, the council, and if it's like a status quo, and Banchory, although inactive, has been amazing, starting to raise funds, to get projects done in the future for the community. As people know, in Banchory, we look after our own one as well as we look after others, and I think that these assets transfers will bring very lovely places to new life, and as Councillor Ross says, the bowling green is happily to be working with them, along them on already some family days last year, so if I remember, and I think that and then in the improvement of our facilities, creation of new facilities were very trendy for the moment, as you may have heard about the paddle sport, about the paddle, and I think that for the future of Banchory and surrounding areas, it's just I'm sure that people will travel to come to use the facilities as well, and I think it's a good opportunity here to alleviate the heaviness on those facilities to the councils and give it to the communities to manage it at the best. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up, so I think that the committee agrees. We've considered and agreed the asset transfer request from Banchory and Outdoor and Active, and subject to the condition referred to in 3.11 of the report, for a £1 consideration. And we can now instruct the area manager to issue a positive decision notice and instruct Legal and People to take all the necessary steps to conclude the transfer upon satisfaction of the conditions approved by the committee as detailed in section 3.11 of this report. So I think that now brings us to the end of the public section of the meeting. Yeah, sorry.
Chair, can I come in? It was just to confirm regarding what Tim had mentioned, and Councillor Ross had also just commented on in relation to the request officers to formalise an appropriate lease with Banchory Bowls Club. Did the committee want that to be added? And my understanding, it wouldn't be added as a condition. It would just be a separate request. And my understanding would be to the head of property and facilities management, perhaps something like to enter into negotiations with the bowling club to look at appropriate terms for a lease.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll hand back to Tim just to make sure that was his understanding. But yeah, because I think we would require that to be noted.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
Do you want it as a recommendation? Or
I think, Chair, the way that Jill has suggested is probably entirely appropriate. It can be done as a recommendation. If committee wants it to be done as a recommendation, I would suggest that officers amend the recommendation rather than committee suggestion, because it's a quasi judicial procedure. But the process that Jill's highlighted, that the committee requests that officers undertake a lease which will be a request to the head of property and facilities management, would suffice. That would be appropriate. It's probably worth me highlighting that in many respects, Councillor Ross is quite right to highlight that there should be one in place, and in many respects, committee or even any individual member asking officers to go and generate a release could be construed as asking officers to do what should have been done in any case. So I think on that basis, what Jill suggested would be the most appropriate way forward. I'm conscious that Councillor Ross has a hand up.
Yeah.
Chair.
Councillor Ross.
I'm happy with what Tim and Jill have said. Thank you.
Okay. So I think we're all in agreement. And I can confirm that the public section of the meeting has now concluded and the recording will be stopped. Thank you for your interest in this business. Members of the committee will now go on to consider exempt and confidential business without the press and public present. Kirsty, can you stop the recording, please?